Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 124 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on August 2nd, 2022. Well, guys, boy, howdy, it's been an interesting week here at PEW Science. I tell you what, this is going to be a relatively short podcast today, or at least I would like it to be, because as you may have noticed, this podcast is being published along with another sound signature review. That's right. If you are a super early bird before 0700 Central or so on Wednesday, August 3rd, you may be listening to this before the latest data is published. That's right. So for you folks, I'm sorry. I'm not a time traveler. So in my time, I am still preparing the review for you. That's right. And so future Jay will have it ready for those in his future time. Yeah. And and just before I started recording this, there's actually a technical error going on with the website login system. I use a third-party server for that, and their security certificate seems to be expired. And so if you are a PEW Science member and you are trying to log on to the website during the time that I am recording this on the evening of August 2nd, you are not able to log in. That's right. And that is something that I cannot fix right now. And I've really been trying. So I am sorry for that. I apologize for that technical difficulty. But we're gonna press on. The show must go on, as they say. I'm going to continue with the recording of this podcast. I'm going to continue with publishing both the member review and the free version tomorrow morning, because that functionality is, of course, decoupled from the login system. And in case for some reason the login system still isn't working in the morning when this review goes live, have no fear. It will eventually be fixed, and you'll still have the suppression rating. That's right. That's right, you will. So if you are like most people and are listening to this on August 3rd, there is more data available right now. That's right. It's the HUXWRX, formerly OSS, just released their FLOW 556K silencer. That's right. It's a 3D printed 17.4 stainless steel 556K silencer. Boy, howdy. It's crazy. The data's wild, too. It really is. And so hopefully when you're listening to this, the login system is fixed, members. I can't apologize enough for that, but just know that I am aware of the issue, and I'm sure I'll get a bunch of emails in the morning about it, but I am aware, and I'm working on it, okay? So we have a lot to talk about today, and not a lot of time, because what I need to do is put the finishing touches on that HUXWRX article, so future Jay can publish it, and so it'll be ready to go when you listen to this. That's right. And also, we need to talk about the technical data published on the energetic Armament ARX last week, because it was. You know what? It's actually highly topical for this week's data too. It's all contextual. You know, the entire silencer sound standard is consistent, and it all fits together. You can wrap a tight little bow around it, and you have the best thing for silencer users ever. You really do. And if you're into silencers and you need some, where is a good place to get them? Well, you could try Silencer Shop. That's right. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors, you just simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's great. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. It is. And, you can check out True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona. You click the link in the show notes of all the podcasts here on the website, pewscience.com/podcast, or in your favorite podcast provider. It takes you to their site when you click that link. And if you buy ammo using that link, it helps the podcast and helps PEW Science. Done. That's right. If you also want to join their A-Zone Club to get free shipping on all your ammo for a whole year, you can use code word PEW Science and get $20 off that membership. That's right. You win, they win, and you help the podcast. That's right. Simple. I hope that helps you get your ammo more expediently and cheaply. And lastly, and most importantly of all, this podcast is brought to you by PEW Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest and the most accurate Hear and safe rating for your suppressed small arms, and is based on true human inner ear response. That's right, from the entire gunshot, before combustion takes place, all the way until all the combustion is gone. That's right. The suppression ratings in Section 5 of the Silencer Sound Standard, and there are also reviews in Section 6 of the Standard, and finally, Section 7 contains all the rankings. It's a simple database tool with which you can sort and filter all the public test results, and when you find something you like, you click the links in the table. It takes you back to Section 6, where you can look at the most in-depth silencer data in the world. That's right. You can. And as always, if you're a manufacturer and you'd like to use PEW Science for private testing or consulting services, there's a form on the website with which you can submit that inquiry. That happens all the time. Any contact information you submit through that form is confidential, and all the test data we produce as a part of a contracted effort remains confidential, unless, of course, you would like to release it to the public, in which case PEW Science can certainly help you do that. For example, you'll see test data today. When you're listening to this podcast, it'll be live on the website, the HUXWRX FLOW 556K. That's an example of that occurring. And we'll talk about that on today's episode. You can support this podcast, PEW Science, and our testing by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. Unless you're trying to do it right now when I'm recording this, in which case the member login function is down and you can't join. So that's terrifying. Yeah, that's a problem. We got to fix that. There's also a donate function on the website, which should... funny enough, works fine right now. That's on the review page and on the podcast page, and every little bit helps. So you can give a little bit, you can give a lot of it, or you can give nothing at all. That's right. And something that's free, doesn't cost you anything. You can give the podcast a good rating on Spotify or on iTunes and stuff like that. And what that does is it lets folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. It spreads the good word about suppressed small arms. It helps to normalize them. That's the goal. Okay, got 3 topics for you today, and I know I said this is going to be a quick podcast. There's no way this is going to be quick. I got 3 topics for you today. First topic 1, sound signature review 682. That's right, the energetic Armament ARX on the 556 Mark 18 SBR. That's right, technical discussion. Controversial, perhaps? Well, it shouldn't be. We'll talk about it, and then hopefully we'll get your questions answered here. Topic 2, early deliverable today. That's right, sound signature review 683. 6.83, the HUXWRX FLOW 556K on the 556 Mark 18 SBR. This is going to be a cursory introductory discussion. Okay, it's not going to go as in-depth as the previous topic with the energetic ARCs. We're going to save the in-depth technical discussion for the following week podcast, just like we do every week, or every week a review is published, okay? But this topic's going to be interesting because I tell you what, the silencer's wild. I'm really excited about it. It's crazy. And finally, topic 3, man, it warms my heart to see so many folks using the data analysis for great benefit. Like, it's crazy. And several hunting stories were shared with me recently, actually this evening. And elk and bear and all kinds of great game animals have been taken with suppressed rifles. It's really cool. And what's really neat is the data help the users in the selection process. And I wanted to talk about that. And so I just want to say, this is PEW Science, living and breathing. That's right. So thank you for your support. Okay, let's move into topic 1 at a time of 8 minutes and 47 seconds. Man, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't a little concerned about that login system being down. Just because the members can't log in, and it's like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like, that sucks. I hope we fix it by the morning, because I really want you guys to be able to see that data dropped. The members. I want you guys to see it. But the good thing is that the free version will be available no matter what. So we have some base level redundancy, right? That's always good. Okay, watch. I'm talking about it now, and it'll be fine in the morning. Wouldn't that be great? I just figured I'd talk about it because if it's not fine, you'll know. you'll know why. Okay, topic 1. Yeah, sound signature review 682. This is from last week, the energetic Armament ARX on the Mark 18. And this seemed to be controversial. And it was interesting. There are a lot of dedicated 5.56 silencers on the market, and people really seem to be interested in how they perform. They really are. And I am one of those people. And I don't know if you guys know this. If you are a new listener to the podcast, first of all, thank you for listening. I'm glad to have you. You may be hearing this for the first time, so this is for you, okay? And for those of you longtime listeners, you may have already heard me say this, so forgive me as I repeat myself purposefully, okay? Okay, sorry guys, I had to pause and continue recording the podcast. It looks like my microphone settings weren't quite right, so now this is going to be a little louder. I hope this is better for you. Sorry if it's too loud. Okay, so like I was saying, for those of you longtime listeners, you're probably going to have to endure me repeating myself. I started this effort because nothing like it existed and I needed it. Okay, and so I also knew that if I needed it, others would need it too. Right? So here we are. I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's past the halfway point of 2022. Okay? And this review of the ARX we're going to speak about in this topic is the 82nd article on the website. All right? So if you hear nothing I say during this entire episode, hear this. I use my own data and analysis to make my own decisions about the silencers I personally purchase, okay? I've said this so many times, guys. And why? Why do I use my own data? Well, because it's the best way I know how to evaluate the performance of the silencers. Okay? If there was a better way to do it that I knew of that could be done in a cost-effective manner, efficiently, with the time I have, I would do that. Right? But there's not. So I don't. Okay? So does that make sense? Like, this is, you don't have to use this information. You really don't. No one is forcing you to. I do not care what you buy. And if you buy no silencers, like ever, it does not affect me at all. Like, I don't care. The world will keep turning, and it's going to keep going around the sun, and time will tick on by, and it will never matter if you buy a silencer to me. Okay? Like, so when I publish data on my website, I'm doing it so that you can have the same information I have. Okay? Because you may want to use it to make decisions like I do. You feel me? So that's the whole point of PEW Science. And please do not misconstrue, and this is important, do not misconstrue this as me wanting you to make decisions. Okay? You see the difference? I'm telling you, I want you to have the same information I have because you may want it to use, you may want to use it to make decisions. Like I use it to make decisions. But don't think that that's me wanting you to make a decision. You don't have to make any decisions. And if that's it. I'm trying to help you because I assume you want the information. And if you don't want the information, then you are not my audience and you don't have to use the information. Cool, right? It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You don't have to use it. Just don't use it if you don't want to use it then. Okay? And the reason I'm saying this is because when I released this data and analysis last week, and since the day I released it through today, I've been seeing things. There are people who are extremely upset that the silencer doesn't suppress sound to the level they would like it to suppress sound. They're really upset about it. And it seems like they're genuinely upset. And so as typical, after every single sound signature review I do, today's no different. Well, in this regard, at least. It's pretty different overall. It's no different in this regard. I'm going to walk through it step by step. I'm going to tell you about the silencer. I'm going to tell you about the way it works. And perhaps in doing that, the people who were very upset will find solace. Okay, maybe they'll find solace in understanding the reasons for the performance of the silencer on the weapon. That way, it will help them. Okay, I can't control your emotions and your feelings. I can only present data and analysis for you. And that's it. That's all I can do. I can't change reality or bend physics or time. It would be cool, but I just don't have the power. It's not that cool, I guess, sometimes. Just wasn't born with that power. So I just wanted to kind of start this off by saying that stuff. I think it was a pretty mature way to address it. Because to be clear, there were some things that were said about it that I thought was kind of wild, and I thought maybe I'd take the high road here, and say something, relatively normal about it. There you go. Okay, so sound signature review 682, the energetic Armament ARX of the Mark 18. Yeah, man, this thing is really, really light. It's actually a really neat silencer, and it's really compact. It's really light and compact. I said that in the review. Actually, I did. It's really light and compact, super small. It's so small. This thing is tiny, really. When you hold it, you're like, this is weird. So you should know that up front. I tried to highlight that in the review several times. I hope you guys read that. And ordinarily I'd open up the member review to take a look at it. Can't, because the login system's down, but what I can do is I go into my back end here, and I can, of course, pull it up because that's PEW Science. So I can look at the back end here. I am in the member review. Now, members, if you want to follow along at home when I describe this, and if for some reason the login system is still down like it is for me right now, I'm sorry about that. You'll just have to look at the free review, but that's okay. Because during these podcasts, I only discuss the stuff in the free reviews, and because it's really not fair to the people supporting the effort if I kind of talk about all the member stuff. But so don't worry about it. You're not going to miss anything if you follow along with the free version, no matter who you are. Okay. So, and actually, this is a good thing to look at. I'm looking at the opening paragraph here. The silencer weighs 8 ounces. I wrote that on there. Yeah, I weighed it myself. The silencer weighs 8 ounces without a mount. If you take them, and it has the universal mounting system, right? In the ARX, you can take that out, and the silencer weighs 8 ounces. Guys, that's really light. That's really, really light. It's incredibly light, actually. It's half a pound. So 16 ounces at a pound, right? So 8 ounces, you got half a pound. That's wild. And it's incredible. And the mount that comes with it is 0.8 ounces. So that's less than an ounce for the mount. So all in, I'm talking all in, this thing weighs 8.8 ounces on the end of your gun. That's crazy. Okay. So, and actually, when you consider it can even survive on the Mark 18, which it totally can, and we'll go into why in a second. Like it's really wild that a silencer that small and light can do that. I think that's crazy. So, what we're gonna do in this discussion is we're going to go through the review from the top, like always. Okay? So I know there's going to be a lot of new listeners today because people are freaking out. So let me kind of tell you guys, this is how I do it every time. I'm not picking on anything. This is what we do, and you can go back to other episodes if you get angry with me. Okay? So please try not to get angry with me. I don't make the silencers. I just test them. Okay. So bottom line up front, 21.5 composite suppression rating on the Mark 18. That's right. 16.6 at the muzzle, 19.2 at the ear. Yeah, not the quietest thing in the Mark 18, is it? If you're familiar with the data set to date that's published on PEWScience.com, this would not be regarded as the quietest thing. Now, the hearing damage risk, which is what the suppression ratings are, they're tied to hearing damage risk. Okay, so the hearing damage risk from this silencer on the Mark 18 is not super low, right? So hearing damage risk is relatively increased when compared to some other silencers that you would call quote unquote quieter. Okay, when I use the term quieter or louder, I'm not using those terms like you may use them sometimes. I'm using them as in objectively quieter or objectively louder. And when I say quiet, what I mean is less hearing damage potential. And when I say louder, I mean more hearing damage potential. And you may be tempted to think that that's an easy statement and I'm saying something pedantic and I'm patronizing you when I say it, but I'm not. It's actually very complicated. And that's why we have the suppression rating, because it's incredibly complicated to express hearing damage potential without it. Okay? So I'm talking about objective loudness, which is directly tied to human inner ear response. And human inner ear response correlates directly with damage. Now, perception of sound can correlate with inner ear response, but that's even more complicated. And just because you think something sounds good doesn't mean it is necessarily. And just because you think something sounds bad doesn't necessarily mean it is either necessarily. So we always go back to the suppression rating to see why. And there are several member research supplements on pewscience.com that kind of explain this in excruciating technical detail in case you want to know more later. Okay. So, although the ARX doesn't have the best suppression rating on this gun, it doesn't have the worst one either, necessarily. I mean, we're going to compare some things to it a little later here, but it's kind of falling in line with some silencers that are relatively similar in gross characteristics, right? And those are really great peg points. They really are. Okay, and we'll get into that. We will. Okay, just want to kind of let you know what's going on here. So what you need to know, broad strokes, is that this is not a quiet silencer on the Mark 18 by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, nothing about it is quiet. If you wanted to describe it as a loud silencer, you would not be wrong. In the context of this weapon system, okay, and in the context of all the other silencers tested by PEW Science in the weapon system. So just so we're clear, it's not an opinion, it's not conjecture, or anything like that. This is objective fact from the measured data and analysis I performed of the data. Okay, I measure the data, and then I analyze the data, just like I do with every single silencer, and this is what I got. This is my answer. Okay. So if you want to look at how exactly we know this about the ARX, like if you want to know how we know that this data jives, how we know it makes sense, we can scroll down and look at that in the review. It's in the review. You can scroll down to the fingerprint. That's right. Our favorite thing to look at to describe silencer behavior at a glance. The early time sound signatures of the first couple of shots. That's right. Measure 1 meter left of the end cap of the silencer. Go to figure 1B. Okay, if you scroll down, go to figure 1B and click it, make it bigger. It'll pop up and make it bigger for you there on the website. You can do it on your phone too, but it's usually pretty good to do it on a computer because you can see it. You can see it pretty good. Okay, so it's pretty telling right away, actually. And I say that, and I know it can be complicated, and I'm not going to assume you're an expert at combustion analysis, so I'm going to walk through this figure slowly so I can highlight some things to you, as I typically do. You see the internal combustion that's pretty pronounced. Like, it's pretty pronounced in the beginning there. And I labeled this in the figure. I'm not saying stuff that's not labeled. It's right there. Okay, you see it's pretty pronounced. The silencer is so small. You know why you see internal combustion in the shape you do, in those oscillating waves like you do there for both shot 1 and shot 2 overlaid on each other like perfectly. You know why it's like that? Well, the walls of the silencer are really thin. Okay. They're super thin, and we'll get into that, into why they were able to do that later. But that's one note to show you that the data pedigree makes sense so far. Then you see the bullet shock. That's actually very consistent from shot 1 to shot 2. Then you see a little bit of a delay, which is interesting, right? And then you see huge primary jetting, don't you? You do. Why? Why is the sequence like this? Well, it's because it uses conventional straight cone baffles with a big hole in the middle. And it traps gas, as you would expect, but not for very long. And the early time flow rate is really high, but it's not uniform. Okay, then it starts to pulse, doesn't it? Why does it pulse? Why does the gas jetting from the energetic armament start to pulse? Why does it do that? It's because the method of flow rate increase used in the silencers really making the first baffles larger, and you get a big gas pulse after the bullet shock that throttles, and the mass flow rate's highly irregular. It just doesn't, it's not able to shape it in a regular fashion. And I mean, what are the consequences of that? Like, I know it might be hard for you to understand in pressure space, because what I'm describing is happening very quickly, and in a sequence that is clearly different than some other high flow rate silencers. So at first you might be like, well, I don't know, Jay, that I don't really get it. I'm not seeing it in figure 1B. I said, okay, no problem. Let's look at it a little differently in figure 2. So close this and open figure 2. Figure 2A is fine. Open 2A. Okay, so what do you see in figure 2? You see the integration of the pressure history in the time domain. That's a really fancy way of saying the word impulse. Okay? And what is impulse? I just told you, first of all, because it's not a PEW Science thing. Impulse is an open source mathematical quantity developed by Isaac Newton hundreds of years ago. And it's not proprietary, despite what people tell you on the internet. It's not a proprietary thing. It's just raw data and math, dude. So far, all I'm showing you is raw data and math. That's all I'm saying. It's the math's right. You can check it. If you can check my math, it's easy. Actually, you can check my math. All you have to do is test the silencer and gather the raw data and do the math. That's how you do that. It's easy to check it. It's not easy to test it, but that's why PEW Science exists, because sometimes it's hard to do stuff, and you got to make sure to do it so people can have the information. So when you look at figure 2A here, like this, when you look at it, you can see how the FRP, or the black curve, the first round pop, the first shot through the weapon, you can see how the FRP impulse waveform has a faster rise time, right? Or another way to say that is a steeper slope. If this was a mountain and you were skiing down it, you would say, dang, man, I'm going too fast. This is too steep a slope. That's what steep means. That's what fast rise time means. Okay, those terms are synonymous. So what you see there with the first shot, that's typical. It's typical for FRP, and the reason why it's typical, it's due to the air in the silencer before you shoot the first shot. It's facilitating extra combustion. There's more burning going on. There's all this air to support it, and because of that, you get this more intense jetting early on. You saw that in pressure space, but now it's the exact same data just shown in impulse space. So it's the same physics, just in a different space. Okay, so that's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Longtime PEW Science folks know how that works. Okay, so now look at the next two shots. Okay, it starts to get a little wonky, doesn't it? It's interesting. Not wonky like, okay, first of all, wonky is a technical term. Yeah, not wonky overly so, but wonky in certain ways, because they're actually extremely consistent with each other. Shots 2 and 3, God, they're like right on top of each other for a little bit, aren't they? Isn't that interesting? How the next two shots after the shot 1 are really tracking like really close together until what happens? They get a little wonky, don't they? Why? What's the wonkiness? Or let me say this in a more technical way. What does the divergence due to? What phenomenon is causing the divergence? It's a regular flow. Okay. Why would the flow be irregular? Remember, we just talked about this in the pressure space, but now I'm showing you an impulse, so you can see how we can approach this discussion from two different ways in two different two different spaces, and we can talk about the same exact thing because it's all consistent, and it's just combustion physics and pressure versus impulse. It's the same thing, same stuff, same waveforms, just expressed differently. Okay, so why would the flow be irregular? Well, what have we talked about in previous 556 tests when this happens? We've talked about this. This is textbook significant overbore and turbulence in the main flow field. That's what that is. What happens when that gets severe on the Mark 18 in particular? What can happen? Well, the secondary combustion, due to the 10.3-inch barrel in the Mark 18, it can manifest with different timing components. Okay, you got varying phase based upon the less restrictive primary orifice. And so in plain English, like I know I'm getting a little complicated, in plain English, you get unpredictable impulse accumulation in late time. Okay, that's plain English. So you see, actually, and look, I'll use another technical term for you. You see it go bonkers? Let's use the word bonkers. You see it go bonkers after shot 2 and 3? Actually, after shot 2, it actually happens. After shot 2, you see shot 3 go a little bonkers. Starts to run off. Starts to run away after 31 milliseconds. Isn't that crazy? Starts to run away. Then shot 4 gets scared and runs off later. Then shot 5, it shares characteristics with both shot 4 and shot 2. And you're like, what? You can't make any sense of it. You're like, why is this happening? But then if you look closer, the impulse slopes keep dropping, don't they? The impulse slopes are dropping. They're getting less steep. Isn't that interesting? And then the entire impulse history keeps elongating as the shot string goes on. Isn't that interesting? It's almost as if the ARX is unable to deal with secondary combustion from the short Mark 18. So what you're doing is you're getting that secondary combustion later and later in time as propellant's burning through the stack. It's burning through the stack. The center hole's too big. The silencer's small. There's nowhere for this stuff to go. You're burning. You've wrapped an exotic alloy pencil topper around a violent short barrel rifle and asked it to smoothly tame the muzzle blast event. You have asked something that is not reasonable if sound and flash suppression performance is something you want. It's not reasonable to have asked it to do that because the design is not capable. Okay, there are limits to physics. This is showing you those limits. It's showing them to you. You cannot expect the ARX to do something differently than what is shown here. It's not rational. It's not rational to expect something different than what this shows. Okay, when I first saw a cutaway of this thing, I knew exactly what it was going to do on the Mark 18, and so did every silencer designer you're going to talk to. If you choose to talk to any, which you can if you want, because they're everywhere. Especially nowadays. They're coming out of the dang woodwork, these silencer designers. You know, there's the Form 4 guys, but the Form 1 guys are everywhere too. And the knowledge they have of silencers is not rudimentary necessarily. These guys are pretty sharp, and some of them made Form 4 companies, and they're doing crazy stuff. So what I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but what I'm trying to tell you is, like, what I'm saying is, I know I'm explaining complicated phenomena, but the gross answer, which is the suppression rating, should not surprise you based on how the silencer is made. Okay, and guess what? And I'm not trying to be controversial here. I'm really trying to help you understand. Like, I don't have anything against this silencer. Like, personally, I don't care. I'm just explaining the silencer to you and how it behaves. I don't care about the silencer itself. Like, it's just a silencer. Okay, it can't be a good or bad thing. It's just an object, and this is the answer. And so what I'm telling you, you need to understand that all the people who have shot this silencer on a Mark 18 or witnessed it being shot on a Mark 18 that were at a large event in Texas several months back, and those of you who were there, you know I'm talking to you because you know I've talked to you, and you know who was there. You know who heard this thing. All those people, they experienced exactly what you see in Figure 2. They experience wild combustion dynamics because the thing is small. The baffles are simple straight cones. There's no porting, and the hole's big. This is not like some kind of crazy, like, oh, Jay's talking crazy talk. He's crazy. Jay's crazy. He's got some proprietary algorithm, and he's out here lying to people. He's a diabolical, crazy criminal mastermind. He's out here exploiting everyone. He's taking people's money. He's crazy. He's a charlatan. I tell you what, this guy's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Or I'm just trying to get good silencer data. I'm giving you analysis that most of it's free because I'm trying to make stuff better. Which one do you think is more likely? It's most insane. Sometimes I think I'm taking crazy pills when I see these conspiracy theories on the internet, and it's insane, and it's it's usually from people who sell silencers, and they get upset when they want to sell something and they were told that it was really quiet, and then turns out like users buy it and it's loud, but then they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you're a user. But then I publish something like, oh, well, Jay doesn't know what he's talking about either because I don't know. We just don't like it. We don't trust him. I was like, okay, well, all the people who shot the silencer kind of confirmed that it was like pretty loud, and the data kind of shows that it was pretty loud on the gun too. So those two things are consistent. So what's the odd man out here? Maybe someone else, right? So it's like this is like an Occam's razor thing. It's like usually the simplest explanation is probably correct, right? This is, we're not. This isn't magic, okay? And it's not new. This is the 82nd article on the website, and it's all consistent. So, okay, so that's it. That's the ARX performance. That's it, in a nutshell, really. I mean, I'm going to talk more about it, but what I'm telling you is like those two figures summarize the entirety of this silencer with regard to suppression performance. Because at PEW Science, we have studied this so closely and so publicly and so consistently and repeatedly over years that we know just by looking at these waveforms, we know how the silencer, what the gross behavior of the silencer is doing. Why? Because it's consistent with other silencers that behave like it. This is all empirical. And it's empirical, and then we confirm with analysis, and it is awesome. Okay, and so let's talk about it a little further, because I'm going to address some specific things that I said that made people upset. But so we're going to go through it, and I'm going to explain it in more detail in a prose fashion here, instead of very technical on the website, so that you can hear it from my mouth. So if someone wants to say something contrary to it, well, they can use their mouth, and we can have a conversation. Because right now, I haven't had any conversations. I've just seen people call me a liar, which that's fine. It's their right to call me a liar, except when they insinuate that I'm stealing from people. I'm pretty sure there's. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I feel like it's not right what they're doing. Now, okay. Something I said in the review made some people really upset. I said that the ARX is an inefficient short barrel rifle silencer in that its flow rate is lower than that of some other silencers, but its sound suppression performance is also lower. That's what I said. That's all I said. I mean, it's in writing. It's on the website. So let me repeat it. I said something was inefficient because it's not able to do things that other things can do. That's what I said. I mean, I said it was inefficient, and then I gave the reason why I thought that. Why I used that word inefficient, and it wasn't really an opinion as much as it is a reality. I mean, I guess you could call it an opinion. I mean, if you base efficient function of a semi-auto rifle silencer on flow rate and signature suppression, which is a very popular definition of efficiency for people who use them on those weapons, you would see that it's inefficient. So if you want to use another definition of efficiency and talk about like the length of the silencer, okay, you can do that, and that's okay. But you you would also see that it's not really good for the length either. Okay, because of how loud it is. And spoiler alert, you're going to want to listen to the next topic that covers the HUXWRX FLOW 556K. Okay, that's the article that's being published today, or by Future J on the 3rd of August, and so I'm recording this podcast on the 2nd of August. So okay, so like when you look at that data, you can see like what you could do. You could look at the overall. Like so you'll see that like that's actually the HUXWRX. It's like the same size as the ARX, but it's quieter. So it's like, well, it's like, okay. So that you could look at those metrics and like I don't really look at those a lot, because unless it's like a really big deal, I don't look at it a lot. Like so when I saw the ARX, I was like, well, it's loud, and so like I didn't think it's loud and it flows fast. So I'm like, well, okay, if it was efficient, it would like flow fast and be quiet. So I didn't really think, like in my mind, I didn't even think about like dividing the suppression rating by the length of the weight, and like I'm like, okay, like you can start to do that if you want to look at efficiencies that are important to you, and I think that's cool. But let's talk about that, and like I don't want you guys to run away with. There's a reason. You guys know I have all the data, so I could do that for you. I could divide things by numbers and normalize them with all kinds of different parameters for you. Like we could normalize this data by color and take a hexadecimal code for the color and normalize it by hexadecimal code. Or we could, you can do all kinds of things, but unless it's meaningful to the user, it doesn't matter. Okay, so like what you could look at overall weight versus suppression efficiency. You could look at that. You could use weight. But what do you do if you do that? Well, you're going to have to quantify the threshold of efficiency, don't you? You can't just like throw out a number and be like, well, this is the most for the weight. It's like, well, that can be super misleading. Like, okay, because like when does weight matter and when does sound matter? Like if the ARX has a muzzle suppression rating on this weapon that's like the Razor 762, which it does, and a shooter's ear suppression rating on this weapon that is like the Razor 762, which it does, and you compare the length and the weight of the ARX to the Razor 762, then sure, the ARX is a more efficient silencer than the Razor 762 because it's doing what the Razor 762 does on the Mark 18, but it's doing it lighter and it's doing it smaller. So yes, in that respect, the ARX is more efficient. Okay, there. I just created a case that will satisfy those people saying that stuff. Okay? I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can interpret the data however you want to interpret it. I'm just telling you, like, reality. Because, so saying all that, so yeah, okay, the ARX is more efficient on the Mark 18 than the Razor 762. Cool. But then what happened? Well, the Razor 556 exists. And then the muzzle suppression went up on the Razor 556, didn't it? By a bit. And I talked about that in the review of that when it went up. Okay. So then, oh crap! Well, it's quieter now. So, how does that mess with your? Is that okay or is it not okay? And what is that? How does that mess with your efficiency metric you made with weight or is it length? Okay, and then what about all the other silencers that put bystander or shooter hearing damage risk in a better place? Like, what's your threshold? What is your threshold as a user? What's your threshold? Because right now, you can make up efficiency metrics all you want. You can do it. It's easy. Anyone can divide numbers. Like, you can do that. Like, you already have I compute the suppression rating, which is incredibly complex, and I publish it on pewscience.com for everyone to see in the world. So you can and everyone knows how to weigh a silencer, so you can get the weight of a silencer, and everyone knows how to measure the length of a silencer, so you can get that too. So you can take the suppression rating, and you can do all the math you want on it with the weight and the length. That can be super useful. Okay. But with regard to performance, like that is suppression performance, the efficiency of suppressing signature and maintaining a certain mass flow rate for operation on a reciprocating small arm weapon system. Okay, that's important for system operation. That's important for signature suppression. And so since this is the silencer sound standard, we focus on signature suppression. And we focus on gas dynamics and in the reviews. Okay, for now. That's what we're focusing on for now. And the suppression rating is based on suppression. It's in the name. Okay. I want you guys to really think about this. I see some stuff and I'm like, whoa, like I saw someone on Reddit and I actually jumped in the thread. I said, man, this is awesome. This is working. I'm glad, it was actually Kel that used to work at Gemtech. He posts on Reddit under a different name. His name is Kel Whelan. And he used to work for Gemtech a long time ago. He's been a silencer game for a very long time. And he came up with like a efficiency he started to plot like suppression rating. He called it the PEW number, which is not true. It's not called the PEW number. It's called the suppression rating, and because it's not just a number. It's a hearing damage risk to be used with the suppression rating dose chart. So he used that number, the suppression rating, and then he looked at length of the silencers, and he looked at which ones were efficient for the length. And I thought that was clever. I was like, that's cool, It's good to do that. But then I saw people looking at what he was doing and they were like, well, oh man, I'm glad I got this one because of this. Or I'm like, oh my God. And they're turning it into this contest already. And like anytime there's like a number, people start, it's like a sport. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like the efficiency does not matter unless you want it to. What is your requirement for your system? If you don't care about sound, or you care about sound in like a little bit, or you care about sound a lot, or sound is all you care about, then you can weight the importance, and then you could look at efficiency metrics. But just looking at one efficiency metric and justifying a silencer's performance in some kind of weird way, and normalizing something with length when the mounts could be different, and then looking at weight when the mounts could be different, just be careful, guys. Okay? I think it's awesome people are doing it, but I have seen more mental gymnastics when talking about this silencer on the Mark 18 than I have seen ever. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, guys, don't get distracted. The silencer is. I still have Figure 2 up on my computer right now on the monitor. Look at Figure 2, and then go to the Rugged Razor 762 review, and then look at the suppression ratings of both silencers. Like, I guess it's weird. Like, do you think it's like if it's like, did someone like when I tested the Razor 762 on the Mark 18, and people saw what it was, and they're like, well, yeah, it's loud because of these features, right? But I guess because it's not as light as the ARX, people are like, well, it is what it is. Like they were like, okay, they accepted it because a lot of people had shot it. So they were like, yeah, it's loud. And then so I tested the ARX, and it performs extremely similarly to the human ear. And all of a sudden people are like, well, you just don't understand, Jay. It's like the lightest silencer ever. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. It's the lightest silencer ever. It's really interesting. I just, the amount of, it's crazy. The big thing I want you to guys to take away from this data and analysis, the big thing I want you to I want, like, if you go home and like you write a book report or whatever you want to do, you can use higher strength materials to make an object lighter by using less material. That's why we use higher strength materials, because you can make thinner cross sections for because your yield strength is higher. So, in addition to some other parameters, hopefully you've done your engineering properly and your cross section's lighter because you had a stronger material and you saved weight. That's something we do as engineers sometimes. Okay. So EA did that with their, the C300 Meridian steel has relatively high yield strength at high temperature. And so like, well, they can do that, so they can make it lighter. That's cool. But the problem with that is that the C300 isn't really great with the high temperature erosion of particulates and plasma jetting. It's just not. that type of steel, right? It's not that great with it. So they're like, well, we need a different material. We need stellite, which is pretty well known in various industries. I mean, in various industries, we use stellite to resist abrasive high temperature flow. So they welded stellite to the baffle mouths of the silencers. Okay, that's pretty cool. So you can do this, and they did that. They used, they got their material science right in that. And what do I say when I say material science? All I'm saying by saying those words are they looked at the coefficient of thermal expansion. They made sure that they could have a material compatibility appropriate for the materials not coming apart under hard use, at least in the final version of the silencer that they released here, that by all accounts looks like it works fine. And they did it. Okay, they made a super light silencer that can work on a machine gun, which is cool. Like from an engineering standpoint, I think it's cool. I'm like, that's cool. But the smaller you make a silencer with conventional straight cone baffles with no porting, and the bigger you make that primary hole to increase flow rate and reduce the propensity for erosion, because the plasma jet's hot dog down a hallway situation, like the louder it's going to be. The more primitive the baffles, the bigger the hole, the smaller the silencer, the louder it's going to be. And if you don't want to talk about that, if you don't want to talk about sound or signature suppression like sound and flash, if you don't want to talk about that because it makes you sad, okay, if you don't want to talk about those two words, and you want to say that PEW Science is unscrupulous because I'm saying that something is inefficient at suppressing sound and flash, if you want to say that on the internet, which you can, well, let me say it a different way that won't make you sad. It lets combustion products out of the dynamic pressure vessel at a fast but non-uniform flow rate. Is that better than saying it's loud and flashy? Because both are correct and both are supported by data. Okay? You're going to see muzzle flash during the day in bright sunlight, and you're going to be subjected to a sound signature that's just as severe to the human ear as the rugged Razor 762 on this gun. And those are the facts. That's it. That's it. It couldn't be more similar in performance to the Razor 762. I was actually like, holy crap, those suppression ratings are close. Okay? Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm like, and don't get it twisted, I'm not dogging the silencer at all. What I'm doing is I'm being a little aggressive right now because I've gone to great lengths to do this in a very consistent way. So what now people get upset when a silencer with super similar characteristics performs super similarly on a gun? Where was the outrage when the Razor 762 data was published? Where was the outrage? There was no outrage because everyone knew it was louder on the gun because it's not built for the Mark 18. So now the energetic I test this silencer and all of a sudden you're upset? Dude, it's performing the same way and the silencer's similar in design. Maybe it doesn't look the same, but consider the totality of the design. Consider what you know about how silencers work, and you shouldn't be surprised. So don't, you get all upset. It's like, bro, like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't help you. The only way PEW Science can help you is by continuing to do what I'm doing. Okay? Okay, cool. So, and I'm sorry, and I am not directing this frustration toward energetic armament at all. Do not politicize this, because I'm not. I know Carl. Okay? Carl at Energetic seems to be a nice dude. I'm not directing this at their company or their product. Okay? I am talking about the response from these people on the internet it's like all this high drama. And it's like, guys, like, this is physics, relax. Like, I can't help you. I can't help you with reality. Like, your reality is it's what you make of it, man. So all in all, my opinion, pretty interesting silencer, actually. And it's kind of cool. I really do think it's kind of cool. Because if you know what you're getting and you want something super duper light and super duper small, and you're cool with the performance of the rugged Razor 762 on 5.56, you're probably going to be cool with the ARX on 5.56 too. You will be. I promise. You know how I know? Because the suppression rating is almost identical. Okay? Because you're going to be doing what the Razor 762 does on the Mark 18 in a much lighter and smaller package, which is a neat thing to be able to do. It's neat. I think it's neat. Okay? And most likely, you're not going to break an energetic Armament ARX, most likely. And if you somehow do, the serial ID ring facilitates quick replacement of the entire core. So there you go. So really, if you want something you can try to destroy, but probably won't, and if you do, you're covered easily without a new Form 4, and you don't care that much about sound and flash, and you want something super duper light, hey, the ARX might be attractive to you. It might be your huckleberry, man. You might be like, yes, I want it. Give it to me. And I'd be like, cool, that's awesome. Now, in fact, if you aren't tuning, now this is something that might blow your mind, and you know, people want to be happy and mad about what I'm saying right now. They can't tell. I'm going back and forth, right? Like, oh my God, is he going to say something I like or something I don't like? It's like these picking teams. All these tribals. People are in tribes now. If you aren't tuning your gun at the shooter's ear, this thing is just as loud as a polonium on the Mark 18, and it's quieter than a Saker on the Mark 18 to the shooter. Go look at Figure 5 in the review, guys. Go look at Figure 5. Like, that's not... Are you like... Did you not read it? Look at Figure 5. Look at it. Look at the suppression rating at the shooter's ear on the Mark 18 of the polonium. It's 19.7. The ARX is 19.2. That's the same number. Saker 5.56, 17.7. The Saker at the shooter's ear is louder than the ARX at the shooter's ear. People love their Sakers. Okay? You see what I mean, Jelly Bean? Your context, consistency, physics, PEW Science. All right? Look, use the rankings table in section 7 if you have to. Okay? The ARX is as loud to the shooter as the polonium because its muzzle signature is so loud. You feel me? All the high flow rate in the world won't save you if you don't suppress sound. This is why the Razor 762 is loud on the Mark 18. It's the same reason. Okay? The holistic sound signature matters. The muzzle signature doesn't happen in a vacuum. The shooter will be subjected to it. You cannot escape it. It is inevitable. It is inevitable. Okay, so and you know I couldn't believe how light and small the dang thing was when I handled it. It's truly exceptional in that way. Okay? So I'm telling you that's a positive about the silencer. I told you it was super light and small compact in the article. I said it in the social media post that I thought that too, because it is. And I also said it was loud. I mean, I didn't say those words, but I said it was inefficient, and I published the suppression rating because it is what it is, and it is what it is. And one thing you also need to know, and this is something I didn't put this in the article, but I did say it on social media because I think people need to know. The reason I didn't write it in the article is because I haven't performed an instrumented test for this, and so I don't want to. I want people to have context. You have to know, and multiple people have noticed this. The muzzle flash from this thing, it's white instead of yellow. I don't know why. It's weird. I noticed it in bright daylight. It was actually, and you know what's really crazy? And I know this sounds, again, I'm not trying to be inflammatory. I know this sounds bad, and I'm not trying to be like that. I'm trying to be truthful to you. I was wearing safety glasses that were clear and not sunglasses. The flash hurt my eyes. Okay, like I know I'm light sensitive. It's fine, but it actually hurt my eyes a little bit, and someone witnessing the test actually asked me if I was okay. Funny enough, it was weird. It was one of the weirdest tests. I don't know, man. I've actually spoken with others who have shot this a lot on short barrel 5.56, and they've made the same comment that they noticed a white flash. I was like, that's so interesting. So I don't think it's just me. I don't think it's just my experience with it. I don't think it's just the PEW Science testing. I think it's probably characteristic for the silencer. And so if you have experience with that, please let me know, because I want to know what's going on. I'd be interested to hear more about why it's happening. It could be some of the metals. I don't know. That's a kind of weird. I never seen anything like that before. So I was a little concerned at first. You know, I don't know why it's doing that. And they make a flash hider end cap for it. I don't know if I mentioned that in the article, but I think I mentioned you can get different end caps for it. I know I mentioned you can get different end caps, which you can. Maybe the flash hider end cap kind of nullifies some of that. I'm sure it would improve it. I know, and that flash is barrel length dependent and ammo dependent, but it's definitely flow rate dependent, and it's definitely method of flow rate dependent. Okay, and so yeah, I think that's something important for you to know. I don't know. I hope it helps. We have quite a few energetic armament reviews in the Silencer Sound Standard now. We have quite a few, including the Vox S with the wipe and subsonic 300 blackout, which was a 20-shot test, and to my knowledge, that is the most complete test of a wiped silencer system in the history of suppressed small arms. So go check it out on the website too if you're interested. I hope this data analysis helps people. That's all I got, guys. I didn't think it was going to be that controversial, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for publishing it, but I'm sorry that people are so bent out of shape about a silencer performing in a way that, in my opinion, they should have known. And for that, I don't know who to blame. I don't know if it's my fault. Maybe I haven't educated enough, but I don't think it is, because I feel like the folks that have been following PEW Science kind of knew. So maybe it's somebody else. Like maybe people are maybe they're projecting unrealistic expectations onto people, and because I don't know. I don't know how you get around that. I don't know is it marketing? Like I don't know why. I don't know why people are so how can you be that surprised? Did you think? I don't know. It's did you think that it was magic? The cutaway of the silencer is posted on the manufacturer's website. They have a CAD drawing of it. What did you think it does? You thought it was like a black hole of sound? Come on, man. It's I really, I like you people that listen to this. I want you to learn, and I want you to have good info. That's why I'm doing it. I wouldn't do this if I didn't want to help you. Why would you? I don't know, man. And then for people to get mad at me because of how a silencer behaves, I'm like, well, you can get mad at me, man. That's wild, dude. Wildest crazy. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. All right, topic 2 at a time of 1 hour, 3 minutes, 14 seconds. I swear, man. What a wild week. Mental gymnastics should be the theme. I need a t-shirt with that or something. I'm gonna drink some water really quick. I've been talking. Hold on. I spent a lot of time on that topic, and I just think it needed to be said, guys. We just need a public record of that, so we don't forget, so we can go back to this episode and be like, remember that? I remember that. That was crazy. I know, it was crazy. Yeah. Topic 2. Yeah. So let's get into something that's actually kind of crazy and probably going to be just as controversial. Let's be honest. An early deliverable, Sound Signature Review 683, the HUXWRX FLOW 556K and the 556 Mark 18. So the SBRs, the 10.3-inch barrel 556. This is a cursory introductory discussion, and this one is wild. it's kind of interesting. There are going to be a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I already know it. Oh man, Jay released this data at this time on purpose. He wants to make the ARCs look bad. Oh, the Flow 556K is the same size and it's even lower back pressure and it's quieter and that's not right and we're upset. We're gonna scream and be mad and it's like no. Alas, no. The truth is often much more boring. This test report was actually going to be released last month. Okay, but it got postponed by the client. That's right, HUXWRX, that's right. PEW Science was retained by HUXWRX to characterize the performance of the Flow 556K on the MK18, and that I did. That's right. Thank you so much to HUXWRX for trusting me to perform the work. I am thrilled to be able to showcase the performance of the silencer to the world. I think it's really neat. It's a really neat silencer. Just like I thought the ARX was neat, because it is, I also think the Flow 556K is neat. For different reasons, but they're both neat. Okay, so a couple of things, or more than a couple, a few things. We're not going to go into the full technical details on this episode because I think you all need a chance to read the review. Also, the podcast would be too long. But yeah, I do want to mention a few points that I think are important about the Flow 556K that you can chew on when you read it. And goodness, I hope that the login system on the website's working. Oh man, let me see if my curiosity is getting the best of me. Let me actually see if they fixed it yet. I know I'm going to do it on the podcast, but I really want you guys to know I really do care about this. Like I'm kind of like, why is this not working right? Oh, nope. Looks like they haven't fixed it yet because can you believe that? It's like, man, I probably just need to revamp it is what I need to do. Because, yeah, it's not working. So that's horrible. So hopefully it's going to work in the morning. But, so when you guys click on this article in the morning, if it doesn't work for members, just know that you will eventually have it. I'm going to mention these points, and you can just think about them in your mind when you read through the review, and then we'll pick up where we left off in next week's episode. Okay, so first thing, it's 3D printed. Okay, and it's stainless steel. And HUXWRX is using 3D printing, in my opinion, in the right way. They're doing things that were not previously possible with their old method of manufacturing, and those things are directly impacting the performance of the silencer. And it's doing work, as the kids say. That's right, it's doing work, oh man, I love to be able to say that. This is the silencer that won the FBI HRT contract. Okay, it's the same silencer. Now, reportedly, and I tried, guys. I couldn't get any more details on this. Reportedly, the FBI evaluated the performance of the silencer submissions for this contract to an extreme degree. I mean, I'm told, and I'm also told that my analysis is consistent with the overall results of the FBI evaluation. Okay, and that's what I was told. Okay, in the context of that, they actually shot a lot of silencers, and so I'm told that my results are consistent. Okay, I'm just relaying what I was told. Now, also I want to say this thing is small. It's a little smaller than the ARX, and the flow rate is faster. Okay, and it's way quieter. Okay, and you probably can't break it easily. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so it's a little smaller than the ARX. It actually flows faster and it's way quieter. So, and what does that mean? It induces less hearing damage risk. Okay, I know that some of you might not like that, and I'm sorry. But that's the truth. That's what has happened. That's how it works. I don't know what else to say about that. And finally, and you will see this in the review, the suppression rating at the shooter's ear is crazy. And in typical OCD, super paranoid fashion, when something like that happens, I tested that thing multiple times, even though I know it's not going to change. I was so scared that I was making a mistake because it was so dang different. And I was like, what? I was not making a mistake. This thing is insane, and this has happened to me multiple times throughout PEW Science history. If you listen to this podcast, you know. I'm just like, nope, data's right. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that for now. Please look at the article on pewscience.com. You should get an email newsletter, and if you're not getting newsletters and you want to get them, you can sign up for them on the website. When you register as a member of PEW Science, I do subscribe you to the newsletter, and you can always unsubscribe if you want. It's how I announce the reviews. Also, I post on social, like Feature J will do in the morning. So you'll see that. So I am actually really excited to talk to you guys about the silencer. It was really tough knowing about it for such a long time and not be able to say anything about it. I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm really excited about it personally. And that's why you're probably hearing excitement in my voice. I'm excited. I'm actually excited for all of you because I think that this is actually a big step forward in silencer technology. I do think that, and I'm incredibly overjoyed that PEW Science can be part of it and showcase the performance. And in my opinion, I think PEW Science can showcase this performance better than anyone else can in the world. I really do think that. And so please stay tuned for next week's episode in which we'll go through the Sound Signature Review 683 with the HUXWRX FLOW 556K in depth. That's right. Buckle up before you read that review, folks. It's wild. And if I didn't test it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. It's that crazy. This is why I do PEW Science, guys. How would I know? How would I know? I have to keep doing it because I'm like, oh my God, I want to see what else is out there, right? Like, we have to keep doing this. It's the only way. All right. Topic 3 at a time of 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 6 seconds. Okay. Man, it warms my heart to see so many folks using this data, and they're using it for great benefit, and it's so cool. And people are sharing hunting stories with me. Man, thank you so much for using it. I'm glad it helps you, and thanks for everyone for supporting this. This is amazing. And even through all the controversy, when some silencers don't perform as well as their fans like, the overwhelming positive theme of people using PEW Science data and using it for good in a lot of ways, it continues, man. And I really like that. I think it's awesome. I know recently some folks sent me photos of their hunts. They were hunting with suppressed small arms. One guy was using a Nomad TI on a bolt gun. I think he used a 6.5 Creedmoor, I want to say. It's a fairly long barrel. He was doing that. He shot a bear. It's something crazy, like over 400 yards he shot this bear. I was like, oh my God. Another guy used a YHM Resonator K on a bolt gun. I forget the barrel length and what cartridge he was using, but he used a Resonator K, and he shot an elk really far too, like really far. So, like, first of all, I'm like, it's so awesome you guys are using silencers. Great job. That's awesome. Secondly, are you guys snipers? Yeah, but what in the actual F, dude? Like, seriously. I mean, so the confidence you guys have to make a kill shot at 400 yards or over is super awesome. Okay. I mean, I hope to someday be that confident a hunter. I seldom take game over 200, 250 or 300 yards. Let alone close to 500. Big props to those absolute units, taking animals that far. That's crazy. I mean, I'm just like, I'm not saying it's bad to do it. I'm just saying, wow, I'm impressed. Yeah. They both told me they used PEW Science data to select those silencers that were great for their use case. It warms my heart like fresh apple pie, man. I tell you what, the effort's working, and people don't always need the quietest silencer, or the shortest, or the lightest, or the most efficient, but they do need silencers, and they need to know what they're getting. Okay, and that, my friends, is PEW Science. Okay, enjoy the crazy data right now, guys. Go check out that HUXWRX FLOW 556K review. I'll be back with you next week to talk about it. Stay safe out there, friends. All right, bye.